Hello guys, welcome to EduTap's interview series with toppers. Today we have Mr. Vishal with us, who has cleared SEBI Grade A 2018, and we are very proud of him. Let me give his brief background and then we will listen to his strategy. So Mr. Vishal has done his BTech in 2012 from MIT Gondia. Then he has worked as a clerk in Bank of India from 2014 to 15, and in between his graduation and working as a clerk in Bank of India, he has done some private jobs also, and he has started his own venture in electronics field, but he could not sustain that venture. Then he has worked in SBI as a PO, that is probationary officer, from 2015 to 2019. Meanwhile, while he was working in SBI as a PO, he started preparing for RBI, NABARD and SEBI, all the three exams. He first appeared for NABARD in 2017 when he could not clear pre. So he had his own share of failures. I'll list out his failures, and after that he got a taste of success. Then he appeared for NABARD 2018, which happened in March last year, and he could clear pre but he could not clear mains. Then he appeared for RBI 2018, RBI Grade B. Then again, unfortunately or fortunately, he could not clear pre. So you can see that his list of failures is long. But then again, as I always say, it was a godsend opportunity in terms of SEBI Grade A 2018. Here, he not only cleared pre, mains, interview, all the three things he cleared, and he got his names in the final list. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Vishal for coming all the way from Maharashtra to our place to give his interview. I'm really thankful to you.
Thank you, sir.
So let's listen to his strategy. Let's listen to his views about his preparation, about his hard times, about his struggle. So my first question to Mr. Vishal would be, basically, how did you decide, or how did you come to know about these exams, about these regulatory bodies like RBI, NABARD or SEBI?
Like everybody else who get inspired from others, neighbors or something else. Like I'm inspired by one of my colleagues, happens to be Rohit Bharuka, who is a student and cleared RBI Grade B in 2017. So we met on an incident, and then he told me that why don't you go for RBI, and then the another thing was like you have a negative and positive motivation to go towards a thing. So my case was like I'm working in bank, and banking industry is quite stressed. So that motivation to get out of the banking industry and get to something respectable was helping me to push myself. And another thing is that he guided me that how good these things are. So that inspired me in that case.
Fine. So his motivation was that he could get out of the banking sector, get out of his stressed job, and what motivated him more was that his friend or his colleague cleared RBI Grade B in 2017, and that was a triggering point for him. So my second question from you would be, because during our discussion you told me that you had a very heavy work profile, or long working hours in SBI. You used to work from 10 to 9, and apart from that you also had a family where you were just recently married and you had a daughter 9 months old while you were preparing for these exams.
Right.
So how did you manage all this? Because a lot of aspirants who are preparing for these exams are working,
Right.
and they get stressed out. They feel that it's very tough to prepare for these exams. So how did you manage your time, and how did you plan actually to clear these exams?
No, so it's important how hard you want that success. Now you have a lot of excuses, you have personal life, you have problems, and who don't have problem? Everybody has, and my case was also similar. You in banks, you have a high workload and a long duration of period you have to spend in bank. But the thing is, you should know you have to get out of this or you have to get something. And I told you in my case, both other things are there. Like I want to get out of this stressful job and I want to go to RBI. That was the aim. So that kept me pushing. Now motivation is a thing that will come one day and go the next day. That's how it happens with most of the people.
Yes.
But now keeping yourself motivated is the thing. Now all the time my wife always helped me that you have to go for RBI, you have to do it. So that inspiration was there, and she was at home like all the time we were together. So she kept me motivated, and that thing to get out of the banking industry and go to RBI always kept me motivated. And me myself also given myself a chance to say that you have to do it. Whatever happens, there'll be things, there'll be depressing nights, there'll be happy days, but then you don't have to forget that this happiness will not stay forever, or the sorrow. So you have to be pushing yourself. That's how it has gone in my case.
So how did you manage your time? I mean, 10 to 9. So when did you study? Only on the weekends or late night or early morning?
I used to utilize whole weekends, like Saturday, Sunday, second and fourth is off, and then Sunday is there. So that thing I utilized completely. But then it's not going to happen with only Saturdays and Sunday. You have to be regular, because studying on a given day for 12 hours and then for next 5 days you don't study, you won't remember. So you will spend the next Saturday and Sunday only in revising what you have studied in the previous Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
So it was important to get down. There was no time for me, but then that's how it is. If you want it, you have to go. So what I do is I used to get up in the morning at 4 o'clock, and from 4 o'clock I used to study up to 9:30, because I used to go to bank at 10:30. So the town was small, so it needed only 15 minutes to commute to bank. So what I do is to used to 5 hours continuously in the morning, and then when I came back at 9, so you need to finish your things up to 10, and up to 10 you have only 2 hours, because you have to again wake up at 4. So these 2 hours I utilized it by using some analysis. Like in the night you cannot go and study general awareness, it won't stick in your mind. So what I used to do is I used to do reasoning and maths, which kept you engaged all the time. So that's what I do. And then even if I get bored, so what I do is I typed English, and that's how it goes. So I utilize 2 hours at night and then 5 hours in the morning. So I used to take out 7 hours, and that was enough, I think, for 4 months.
That's a very smart planning, that in night he used to do things which used to keep him engaged, so that he was not able to sleep.
Right.
And in the morning with fresh mind he used to study things which were rather more important. So that's a very smart strategy. And when he says that he used to study 7 hours in spite of working for around 11 hours, that's really commendable, and that is expected from a candidate. If you are working and if you have it in yourself to prepare and clear these exams, that is expected. I mean, you cannot have any excuse like you don't have time. So my next question is, since you prepared for all these exams, you prepared for NABARD, RBI, SEBI, so when was it you started preparing for these exams? Was it just after the notification, or you planned early and you started early to prepare for these exams? Because preparing for 3 exams is not an easy job.
Right. And everybody won't go for that. You have to see that whether you will be able to do it or not, what you think about yourself. The thing is, I did the first mistake of preparing just after the notification came in 2017, as I told you, which I failed pre. So that time I don't know how tough these exams are. So I start preparing only after the notification came, and that hasn't worked the purpose. But the next time I understood that if you wait for the notification to come and then you'll jump, there'll be similar lakhs of people that will be thinking that when the notification will come, I'll switch my preparation from this exam to that. So that won't work. So what I did is, I always thought that the exam, I don't anticipated that the SEBI thing, but I know that RBI and NABARD are gonna come. So I was up to it before 6 months, and whenever the notification come, you just have to revise what you have studied and practice maths and reasoning. So well before the notification come, I have started that thing.
So for 2018, it means you started around 17, which month?
In November I started for RBI, but then the NABARD came next year, I guess.
So you switched your preparation to NABARD. So I think what he is mentioning is kind of like one should start early, because you should be able to cover the syllabus by a certain timelines, and after that, once the notification starts coming, you should be able to revise. So since you said that you started early because you wanted to prepare for all these 3 exams, NABARD, RBI and SEBI, anyways he was not knowing it, but then it came as a surprise. So what is your view, as in if you would have been preparing for next year, what is your view on this integrated study? Like, is it beneficial to prepare for all these 3 exams, or you were not able to clear first 2 exams, one should focus only on one of the exams? What is your view on this?
See, it varies from person to person. Now, how many subjects he can handle at a time? Like, I was a working candidate, still I did it. So I see nothing can stop other freshers who are there. They have only study as their task, so they can do that. And the next thing is, you cannot bet on a single opportunity that is going to come in future. you should keep the window open. Now if you prepare for RBI and then if you fail, you have to spend one more year to wait for that exam only. I'm not saying that people should not be focused on a point, but they should have options in their armory. Like they go for NABARD, and you see these regulatory bodies have almost 50 to 70% syllabus which is coinciding, right? So what they should do is they should focus on common subjects first, and then whichever exam comes, then like in our case we did SM as another thing, but finance and management and economics was there itself, and I've started for it. So I think most of the people should strive for multiple exams, but if someone has the last chance and he has already prepared for single exam, then at the last point he should not think that he should go for that only exam which is
so since you said that a lot of syllabus is overlapping, at least 50 to 70% of syllabus is overlapping between NABARD and RBI and then RBI and SEBI. So is it helpful that when you prepare for one exam, you are not able to clear it, but then if you appear for the second exam, does that information comes in handy, which you have read or which you have understood while preparing for the previous exam?
Obviously, see, this is not a banking exam. In banking exam, what you do is you just prepare for maths and reasoning, you keep on practicing it, the question is not going to repeat. It's only about the speed that matters. But in these exams, not only the speed matters, you should have a comprehension in your mind, you should know a lot of things, and out of which something is going to pop up at the time of exam. So these exams have vast syllabus. So you have to start reading multiple things. Like if I study a chapter in last year, but this year I don't study due to some reason, I've seen in the market this chapter is not important, but then you see the competitive exam have this kind of nature that whatever you don't expect, that will pop up in the exam. And if you studied something honestly, in subconscious you have that thing, so that will pop up. Like I'll give the example, in this time I haven't studied for ESI at all, but I was studying it for 2 times for NABARD and RBI, and then 1 or 2 questions which I've studied 1.5 years back which pop up, like that question of having that how many number of people have toilets in their home. The answer was I think 93%, and I haven't studied this year, but I've studied somewhere back, and somewhere the number was pushing me that yeah, I am the right thing, it should go for me, and you have to take some risk. So while taking, it's not about the wild goose chase, you should take calculated risk, and calculated means this type of risk that you have studied previously, and this will help you all the way. So you should prepare for that. Like
exactly. So he believes in calculated risks or intelligent guesses, as we say, and that's a very good example he gave, that some information which he has read around one year back, that came in handy while he was giving the SEBI exam, right? So do not feel that whatever you are reading, if you are not able to clear that exam, will not be useful for other exams. It's a lot of overlap. What you are reading now, you will not realize how it will help you to clear some exam in future. So now we shall come to the sources.
Right.
Since you are prepared for all the 3 exams, RBI, NABARD and SEBI, what was your primary source for preparing for these exams?
First of all, I'll tell you, there is not a single book in my room, so I haven't gone for a paper thing. Like, and even I don't have time to skim through the books, and then the online was the only option. And you always have mobile in where you can go and search for things. And but then while searching, you see, for one thing, you'll get 100 links. So you cannot go for 100 things, because if you go for 100 things, then how would you revise that thing? And revising is more important than studying.
That's right.
So you, like, how good a soldier you are, it doesn't matter. You should have a weapon in your hand, and that should be trustworthy, that you trust them. So my case was EduTap. I only studied for the last 2 years. I have studied for only one source regarding there are other things like for GK and all, but the primary source was only EduTap. And now it's not the thing that I haven't tried other things. I have tried 1 or 2 things, but I was intelligent enough to see that these things will not work. They were quite short. This was comprehensive, and that is going to help me. So only thing that I studied was EduTap. It was in my mobile. If you have an app to think like how many times I have touched EduTap, you see that in a day at least 20 to 30 times I was touching only EduTap. That's it. Other thing was not there. So
that's a very interesting phrase when he says that he has no book in his room and only thing he has a mobile and a laptop, and he prefers to read online, and EduTap was his primary source, especially for phase 2. So that's what about that was about basic kind of questions with Mr. Vishal. Now we shall specifically move to his strategy for various sections in phase 1 and phase 2 of SEBI. So first I'll list out his marks for phase 1 of SEBI. He belongs to OBC category and he secured 118 marks, which was almost near about the cutoff of general, I think just 1 mark less. So he has performed very well. In English he got 21, in Quant he got around 20, in Reasoning 22, in GA 27, and in Securities Market very good marks, 28. So Vishal, it seems you have done very well in GA. I mean, 27 out of 40 is kind of dream come true for many.
Right.
Right. So what was your source of GA first of all, and how many months of GA did you complete it? Because there is a lot of confusion among candidates that should we read GA of 1 year, should we read GA of 6 months, should we read GA of 3 months? Because it's bulky and factual, but I mean very difficult to remember.
Right.
So what was your strategy with respect to sources and duration?
Now, first thing is like why GA is that important for me is the question. Like if you are a working candidate, you cannot spend your time in practicing maths and reasoning and then competing with those people who have 12 hours to study. So you cannot compete them with maths and reasoning. So what left with you is the GA, which are very handy marks and you can get them easily. In 5 to 7 minutes, you will complete all 40 questions, right? So like remembering the things are more important than studying a lot of things. So for remembering things, you have to trust on a source. So I only trusted Bankers Adda in that case. What I did is that monthly Hindu review thing is there for Bankers Adda. I used to dig them out for 4 to 5 months, that's it. 4 to 5 months. And I used to read them 2 or 3 times. And then daily news that Bankers Adda comes with, that I also read. But now you read subjectively in those things. You don't know which fact of the news is going to come in the exam. So you need to see the objective point of view of that question. So what helped me is like you have your prelims, you have EduTap has that questions like GA questions. Also there is this GK today, which they gives monthly like 250 to 300 questions for objective question, and there is this online Tayari that also gives this question. So what I used to do is I study GK from one source but practice MCQs from at least 3 sources. So that helped me in retaining those numbers, and while retaining numbers you just don't have to mug them up, you have to see them, you have to fix them in your eyes so that you can remember that number, and if it comes in the exam you can take that. So that's helped me. Multiple readings, very limited source, and like you use your visual memory are the 3 things to remember GK for me.
Fine, very well summed up. Don't go for multiple sources, focus on one source, focus on revision, and then I mean for retention, the best thing is to practice as many MCQs you can do. So he practiced MCQs from various sources, and we can see that he got 27 marks out of 40. That is really good. And a certain part of GA also consists of static GA, right? Dams, wildlife sanctuaries.
Exactly.
So what was your strategy for static GA?
So you see, before the exam, Bankers Adda comes with a capsule of GA. But in that capsule, it is almost 70 pages long, and in which last 25 to 28 pages are only for static, and these pages in every capsule are same. So what I used to do, for RBI they come up with a capsule. I did tore those 30 pages, kept with me, and next time whenever they give me GA, I also used to study this current portion, and these 30 pages I'll always go for that. You don't know how many static questions they're gonna ask. They may ask 2 or 3 questions, and for that thing you cannot used to study 30 or 40 pages every time. So you just see that one time. If something comes from that, it's okay. This time there was some sanctuary or something thing, and that stuck my mind because I have studied it 5 or 6 times. So you cannot plan for static thing. At the same time, you cannot neglect it. You should have a feeling that yes, I have read static, but that the time given is only that 30 pages, which needs only 2 or 3 hours, and that's it.
So that's basically proper time management, since you cannot read much of static GK because you don't have time, and it is of not much marks in the exam. He played it very safe. He didn't devote much time, but at the same time he didn't neglect it. That's a very, very good strategy. So now we move to SM, securities market, which is like a pain point for many candidates, because this is something new.
Right.
They have not read in NABARD and RBI, which is like people have been preparing for 2-3 years, and then this is something difficult also because there are a lot of regulations.
Right.
So what was your source for EduTap, and how did you manage to crack such a difficult subject? Because in securities market also you have scored around 28 to 30 marks.
Right.
That's really good. When out of 40. So again, I just repeat my question, that what was your source and how did you manage to crack or understand such a difficult subject?
The first thing is regulations and securities were completely new for me, as I'm an engineering graduate, and previously I studied for NABARD and RBI. They don't have this subject. Even SEBI came up with the first time for this subject, so we don't know which kind of questions they are going to ask. Whether they will ask for theory question, whether they'll go for numbers, regulation,
Exactly.
you don't know. But the one thing is like in the notification, what they have mentioned is there'll be 40% cut off to each subject. Now, most of the people were thinking that if it's gonna be 40%, so the thing should be easy, because getting 40% in competitive exam is not an easy task.
Exactly.
So everyone thought that like going for an NISM booklet of 4 to like 30 to 40 pages would work. I knew that even if it is easy in the prelims, only thing that is gonna make change in the mains, because rest of the people are going to study ESI, FM and all the thing for RBI. Now this is a new thing, you have to compete. You cannot see that I'll compete in the subject which is already existing.
Exactly.
So you have to prepare this for prelims, at the same time it should be finished for mains. So even I was confused, but I know that there are many regulation in each act. So you cannot remember every regulation. So that thing was in my mind that they are not going to ask that regulation. And even if they ask, I know my memory that I cannot remember the regulation. So rather than banging a head on something you cannot do, I forget about it. But the only thing now remember is the facts, that is the numbers and the concepts. So people generally ask that whether you remembered the facts or you go for the concepts. I always say them, if you don't understand the concept, you cannot remember the numbers.
Yes,
that's what I told you.
exactly.
Remembering a number is not like going for 10 times. You should know what is the significance of that number. So your video that is more than comprehensive, 2 hours, 1.5 hours. So I went for the concepts, and then in second revision what you used to do is PPT was there, right? So you cannot go for a video next time. So in the next revision what I had to do is focus on the number, but while listening to your video I focused on the concepts. So if your concepts are clear, then you can easily remember those numbers. So in the revision I go for numbers, and in the videos I go for the concepts, and that's how, and it has to be completed before pre itself. So that was the strategy.
So you mentioned that you watched EduTap videos for securities market. Was there any other source also that you used for securities market?
I tried in the market. Everything was new because this is the first time that comes. The other things was very short. So I was tempted to go for that, because going for a video of 2 hours for a single chapter is not feasible. That's what I thought at that moment. But then I think that even if I get past the exam, I have to appear for mains. So you need concepts, and if I get selected, you have to spend whole life in an organization, and this is the only time you can understand those things. So all the things combined, when I see some video on YouTube, they were not relevant for the exam, because they were focusing only on knowledge. So here it was the combination of knowledge plus the exam orientation. So I thought this is my time, I should focus on this, I should see the videos, and then on other things doesn't matter. So EduTap was the only source for SM, and I tried for some quizzes like iExamP comes up with it. Even Bankers Adda come with some quizzes, but they were not relevant, they were just some numbers. So I quiz of and you in EduTap also, after each chapter you come up with a quiz, right? So that quizzes, these videos, and 1 or 2 tests, that helped me.
So basically primary source for facts and concepts was EduTap. Fine. Now my next question with respect to phase 1 is that you have already discussed with us about SM and GA.
Right.
Then what about English, quant and reasoning? What was your strategy for that?
Okay. So for prelims you cannot strategize. You should be good in English since your childhood. You cannot prepare in 2 to 3 exams for a language. It's not a subject, it's a language, so you cannot go for that into. But in mains, which is more important, because you know it also consists of 100 marks, having equal weightage like ESI, FM plus securities. So I failed in mains of NABARD 2018. So the reason was English. I've got only 56%. When I asked some people who succeeded, they also don't know what is the reason of their success, because in the same year they have given another exam and there they fail in English, and here they've scored very good. So nobody knows what is good for English. So at this point of time, what you can do? You can trust your like normal things. You can go for that, right? If somebody is saying that I got 80, but I don't know what the reason I got 80, and then last year I failed, even I don't know the reason for that failure. So
that's an interesting thing.
So I was confused, but then I let myself understand that let us focus on if I nobody to ask in the world about English, what should I have done? The only challenge is you have to type English in 60 minutes. In RBI you got 90 minutes. So first the thing was like typing. Like you have 150 words of essay, 200, and then comprehension. So you have to type at least 500 words, right? In 60 minutes. That's not an easy thing. So if you have to type 500 words, you have only 10 minutes to type that, I think. So 10, 12 or 15 minutes you finish all those things, and rest of the 30 minutes you have to go for thought process, because you will get confused. That will take some time, you will make some errors, you will have to do that. So what I did is, first thing, I took your photo material for that English you have given in SM. First of all, what I did is, by seeing them, I used to type it. Alt tab, we used to type it.
I think you're going for phase 2.
Phase 2.
We will come to that later. I was asking about a strategy for quant reasoning English for phase 1 only.
Okay, quant reasoning English, see, if you don't have concepts, you have to build them. But as I've already told you that I was SBI PO, so concept in mathematics, reasoning very clear. So you don't have to go for concept, but only concept will not work. You need speed. Now speed has only alternative of, you don't have any alternative of speed, you have to go for practice.
Okay.
And that's what I did. I used 3 sources for quizzes, and that one is Bankers Adda, second was iExamB, and there is some questions in EduTap also. So I used to solve tests. So solving test has improved my speed, and that's the only thing. If but I don't let something off. Like if you don't get a puzzle, then what most of the people will do is like solve the next puzzle. No, that will hammer your confidence. So whatever has stuck, I used to spend hours, but I used to finish that puzzle, so that there is a confidence in back of the mind that yes, I am able to solve. Now only thing is the speed, and that will come by practice. So and I told you I used to practice in night, so that it doesn't get bored and also doesn't consume a fresh time of morning, because you don't have that. So in night I used to practice that. That speeded up my calculations and other things.
So you managed to clear quant reasoning and English by practice, but I think your background for SBI PO and while preparing for RBI, it must have helped in SEBI.
Of course.
And you failed the RBI pre in 18 itself, just 2 months before the SEBI pre. So what do you think was the reason behind your failure in RBI and success in SEBI pre? I mean, what was the difference? Was the exam easy for SEBI and difficult for RBI, or was it your level of mindset, or was it your level of preparation that made the difference?
The level of desperation was the difference actually in SEBI, because I know this is my last chance. I am like 29 years old, having a daughter, I have a wife, so you can't devote whole of your life while studying. You have to stop somewhere, and I know this is the last time I'm gonna try for this. And the thing is, like I told you, I'm heavily dependent on current affairs, and some wrong thing has happened with current affairs in RBI. I'm not going to mention here. It's a part of luck. It comes to your way, sometimes positive or negative, but some of the marks were deducted in current affairs. So that happened with me. Almost 10 marks have been slipped out, and I was heavily dependent only on that thing. So if that's gone, then I know that it's not going to happen, because I was expecting at least 62 marks, and then I got only 51. So that's devastating. And other things I was not. I know I have to only crack maths, reasoning and English. The whole thing will depend on English, and that has gone. But it hasn't happened in the case of SEBI. So whatever I've read for RBI, I have to only add 1.5 months of GA to that and make a blend of it, and then have to study. So GK again helped me, you can see. And then maths, reasoning was in practice. I didn't let it off. I kept it on. Someone like Rohit, I told you, he told me that don't think that you have failed pre, so let us stop. Just think, even the notification of SEBI hasn't come then. So he told me that just think that you are going to prepare for mains of RBI, finish that ESI and FM. So I followed his advice, and what I did is I completely read the mains thing, and just after that the notification came, and I seen the syllabus, and I can see that half of the thing I have already completed. And as a fresh.
So that's a very good story, desperation to motivation. And hard luck in RBI, because luck is also a matter sometimes, because many candidates feel that due to normalization they were not able to clear phase 1 of RBI grade B, but that's a subsidies matter. Let's not comment on that, but I would just like to say that luck is also an important matter. So when you prepare for all these 3 exams together, I mean, that increases your probability, or that increases your chances to at least clear one of the exam. I mean, luck also will favor you sometime. So that was about phase 1, very interesting stories behind that. Now let's move to phase 2, the real phase where, I mean, your marks matter to get selected in the finalist. So basically here, he has performed very well. In SM he got 69 out of 100, in English he got 78 out of 100, and in ESFM he got 62 out of 100. So his total was 209.50, and which if normalized out of 85 becomes 59.36. And then in interview, we got 10 out of 15 and his total was 69.36. So that's again very good marks, especially in English. So I'll start with English. You got 78 in English.
Right.
Though the average marks in English in this year, if I see the collated marks for various candidates who have got selected around 65 to 69.
Yes.
So what was that thing? Okay, let's start with component wise. So you scored in English, it means you have scored well in all the three components,
Right.
essay, comprehension, essay.
Right.
So what was your strategy, preparation strategy for essay, or what was your strategy while writing an essay in the mains paper?
While I failed in the NABARD 2018 exam, I've written I told you that 56 marks was my marks in English. So I know that writing an essay in very flowery language won't work because I've tried that, I've failed. So I don't know the guess is right or not, but trying to write in a different language than others and trying to be pretending yourself to be smarter than others, it won't work. Second thing is I haven't practiced that time and the typing speed was not good. So I was making so many mistakes in single word and then using backspace or to delete that. It won't work. It will take a lot of time. So I've learned my lesson. You never fail. Like you pass or you learn. So that's how it happens. So I failed in I failed in English and I don't know you have to improve on things. You cannot do other things. So what I did is typing speed was the first thing for me, right? So I told you that I used to practice for 2 hours at least for English each day, continue for 15 days after pre. So that improved my that thing. And then the thought process, now how would thought comes, you don't know which topic they'll ask, you have to trigger your mind. So whatever I have studied for SM, that supposed to be the fodder material for essay. So I was not worried about the fodder material. Only thing was to channelize. You know a lot of things about that thing, but you have to write in 150 words. So you have to pick some important things and let off the other things. So while studying for SM, you know that what is important, what is not. So fodder material was not a worry thing. Second was grammar and the spell check. So for that I have tried typing on the text and then go to the word. See which word you are frequently making mistakes, and if you are making there are some words which you use frequently, and if you are making mistakes in that words, that will be committed in the exam, that's for sure. So for that time what I do is those words I used to write on the paper by hand, so that the spelling should not go wrong in the exam.
Exactly.
And there are many words that you are used. You have a vocabulary. You cannot improve overnight, so you have to depend on your vocabulary. So if you're depending on a smaller vocabulary, you should be confident on that. So that's what I did, use limited number of words but should be strong in that. So I practiced it manually, then typed it, and then frequently typing by seeing the essay. Like I used to see the fodder material and then used to type it. So firstly there was no work for thought process, only for typing. Second time I used to type it by my own. So you trigger your thought process and then I check it on the word. So you go for grammar and spell check. That's what you need. You don't need to worry about other things. These are the 4 things I have adopted for English.
So he has mentioned around 4 things. First is the fodder material, and then some secondary things but very important which people tend to ignore. The typing speed, and then spellings and grammar, because there are many spellings or the way the grammar we use, we tend to use it wrongly. And my sense is that when you write an essay and examiner checks it, he has some automated tool which will show your mistakes, at least your spelling and grammar mistakes, like the word shows us or the Grammarly website is there which shows us. So they would be checking using some automated tool, and even if you have written a good essay but he can see some 10 spelling mistakes and some 5 grammar mistakes, he will not give you marks. So it's very important to give importance to these secondary aspects. I'm saying them secondary, but in a way they are primary itself. Right. So that's a very good advice. I think he has a very clear approach to English, and that's why he has been able to score such a good marks. It is not a fluke. You can analyze his vision about English, right? So please try to implement your preparation somewhere on the same lines.
And so one thing people should understand, that English is not a subject, it's a language. First you have to love it. If you don't love a language, you cannot adopt it. And you have to love it. You start loving the sentences. You need to find the beauty in them in a simple words, what you know, right? You don't have to add some other things. Just like manage your resources you have. That's it.
That's right. Because you cannot bank upon English to read some 10 pages and gain some knowledge out of that. It's gained over a period of time. So next it was about essay basically. Now what about prescient comprehension? What was your strategy to handle prescient comprehension?
Firstly, in NABARD 2018, there were some lectures of Deepak sir. I watched it frequently, and they used to tell that don't repeat the sentences, don't copy the words, and like try to write the similar way that the author is writing. These are all the common mistakes that were there. So first, I've suggested myself that you don't have to commit these mistakes, and then we'll see what you have to do. But what you don't have to do is more important than what you need to do in the exam. So repeating the sentence is the common thing, because you see you have a pressure of the clock, and here the clock was faster because you have only 1 hour. So while you have only 20 minutes and you know I have comprehension and then I have presse, so how do they do? So fastly you'll pick some sentences and then write it. It will defeat the whole purpose, because if he reads your presse and he will get a bad impression, he will not go for comprehension at all, because he should know that what you are understanding out of that passage is very important, and everybody understands it differently, and that's how he should write. But like while he understands, he thought like let us go the author's way, and that's the biggest mistake that you commit. So firstly, you give 2 to 3 readings to a passage. Now when I'm saying you have to give 2 to 3 readings, that means you have to save some times. Now saving times come from the typing speed, that's what I'm saying. So you read it, you write the whole thing, and once you write the whole thing, you have at least read it 5 times, because while typing also you read it. So while going for comprehension, that becomes easy. You don't have to see that topic again, because you have already understood and written another passage which is different, but the idea is same. So you can go in comprehension also in your own words. So that's how it was for me.
So that's again a very good strategy, that first write your presse and then comprehension, because presse and comprehension are based on the same passage.
Yeah.
So once you have read the presse and attempted it, you have attempted the presse by reading the same passage or using the same passage, you can attempt the comprehension also. And I think during a discussion he told me that he attempted 5 to 6 questions of comprehension just within the last 8 minutes. That's really commendable. But he was only able to do that because he has read the passage with a very clear mind while attempting the presse. Otherwise, he could not have attempted those questions. So, if you want to take that chance, please match his strategy. Do not give comprehension just 8 minutes and having not read the passage with a good view or a good mind before attempting the comprehension.
That actually happened because of the fact that I was expecting a technical essay, and I see all the general topics. I was confused of what should I write, because I have thought about SEBI and financial markets, so that consumes time. Therefore, I was left with such a small amount of time. So it won't happen with other people the next year. They might be now knowing that it can be technical or it can be general topics. So
right. So it's always good to have open mind, because you never know what you might have prepared might not be asked in the exam. So that was about English. Now moving to SM. In phase 2 SM, basically you've got around 69 marks, which I think is a bit lesser, because you have got around 28 out of 40. Although percentage seems to be the same, but people who have got 28 to 30 in phase 1 have secured almost 75 in phase 2. So what was the reason that you secured little bit lower marks in phase 2 of SM?
I'll talk about greediness. What happens is like when you study, you complete something for pre, then you think whatever I have not completed or whatever is the additional in the mains, I should go for that first. That's what happened with me. I've completed the prelims syllabus thoroughly. Now when I know you know whether you will clear pre or not. So in the meanwhile, what should I have done is I should have gone for revising those things. Instead, what I did is the chapters which you were supposed to add after the prelims, I was focusing on them itself. So I don't know what happened with me. So I was focusing on those additional. Even there were not a lot of question on those additional things, but I have spent whole of my 10 days in that thing. So for revising that previous thing, you have only 5 days. So I have missed something that I know in the exam, that I know I have studied it, but now I have forgotten that thing. That's what happened. So greediness should be in a passage. You cannot be too much greedy, or you cannot be too much lenient, but you have to manage it, and you have to understand this is a competitive exam. You have to be smarter than others. You have to be the smartest person, you have to be smarter than others. So that consumed my marks, I guess.
Exactly. So in a way he's telling us about the importance of revision, what he could do for phase 1, and he could not revise it again for phase 2. I think cost him around 3 to 4 marks. But then again, it was his luck or his vision for English that saved him, because I think his score in English has helped him to clear the exam. Right. So next we come to the last part of the interview about ESI and FM. So what was your strategy first of all for ESI and FM as a combined subject, because the syllabus is very vast and the marks are almost the same for SM and English.
Right.
So what was your strategy? I mean, with respect to devotion of time or coverage of syllabus for these exams, for these subjects?
You can see ESI and FM itself are two subjects of RBI. So you are studying RBI plus an additional subject. Now RBI itself is a big thing, and here you are studying third subject. Addition, you have English also. So you cannot complete these package in 15 days or 20 days you have to be ready for it previously.
Exactly.
Right? And if you are ready before 3 to 4 months, you should be very well, because if you study something 3 to 4 months prior, you won't remember now. So I'm saying that I have utilized that thing. So that means I have studied that multiple times, and that those failure depicts that I have studied them multiple times. Now I know if I focus on these things, I won't be able to prepare for English or for my SM. So I have to bet on something. You have to gamble for something, but that gamble is not only gamble. You know what is going to happen. Here there are 4 subjects like FM plus your ESI and social issues. The 4 subjects were merged for 100 marks. Now you are going to come with 50 questions. 25 for FM and 25 for ESI. So you cannot devote your whole time. Even if you study ESI, you have schemes, you have basics, you have current affairs. What you will study? You have to take a gamble. So as I've already studied them, what I did was I was revised management only. Because management is a tricky part. You know what from where the question will come. You don't have current affairs there, but then that's confusing also. So what I did was, whatever I've read for RBI in management, I've revised it completely. Now the turn was for finance. Now finance was also big, but as the paper was of 40 marks and you have 50 questions, so they cannot go for numerical. That's what you also told me, and I have also had the idea in the mind they cannot go for numerical. So only chapters that were common to RBI, there was some additional chapter like money laundering and all that I've skipped completely, and only finance that I've read for RBI, I've revised it. And I know, because this is almost 7th or 8th time I was reading them, considering the revision. So only one time I've given 2 days to finance, 3 days to management, so it was 5 days. And now I know whether I should go for SM's revision or ESI. ESI is a vast thing. You cannot study it in 5 to 6. So you came up with a 100-page PDF for schemes, I guess, for NABARD and also for RBI. That I have already studied. So I know you cannot now go for another source and ask for that thing. So I should, whatever schemes I have studied, let it go. It will come or not, I'll do that thing I did. And I know now comes with the basic or current affair. Now if you go for basic, again it's too heavy.
Very vast.
You cannot do. And there is a danger that even they might not ask basic at all. So I skipped the basic, and what I did was the EduTap's monthly magazine. I have read it before. I have tried for 2 to 3 months, because I have read it for whole 1 year. It was not possible for me to regain, so 3 months. And then what capsule I have read for current affair in prelims, which is Bangor Sadda, I have revised that capsule completely. And fortunately 2 or 3 normal questions, like they don't come in ESI, they are like prelim GK question, they came in the exam. So that capsule and whatever I studied for ESI from EduTap since last 2-3 years, plus Vision IS monthly module of that current affair helped me. And this time it was luck, so those questions came that I've studied before 2 years, which were never useful in NABARD nor in RBI, but this time they were there. So combined study helped me for ESI.
So again, I think his summarizing the same point, that it's an integrated study which helped him. What he was reading for NABARD and RBI, and he was not able to taste success. He might have felt at that time, no, I cannot make it, I didn't have it in me, but his capability was the same, and he was able to clear SEBI with the same capability, and the material which he has read earlier, though he was not able to taste success with that thing, helped him to finally clear SEBI. So that's a very interesting learning, that whatever you are reading, I'm repeating this again, I've told this in the previous part of this interview, that whatever you're reading now, even if you are not able to clear that particular exam, that will be helpful to you to clear other exams, because all these exams are very closely related. There is huge overlap among them. So that was about all the 3 subjects on SM English and ESI FM for phase 2. So in the last, I'll just ask Mr. Vishal to give some message to the aspiring candidates who are listening to him, who see him as a role model.
Yeah. First thing, selecting a material is important, very very important, and it's like a doctor's prescription. If you don't trust a doctor, whatever he'll give, it won't work. So trusting on a doctor is important, and you cannot go to a multiple doctor. You have to select your doctor, you have to trust it. It was EduTap in my case. I've trusted it. I know, and this was my last chance, so trusting this year was very hard for me because this is the third attempt. So that thing, and then demeaning yourself. A lot of guys, what they do is like, will I be able to do it? There are people around these exams, they are giving UPSC things and they are smarter than me. They have studied 100 other subjects, but keep in mind they are aspirants of UPSC. They haven't cracked it. You could also be, if you chose to give UPSC 2 times and then you start telling people that I was an UPSC aspirant, nobody would deny the fact, yeah, you are an aspirant, but then you are an aspirant and they are also aspirant for this exam. So preparing for some other exam which is of higher level won't assure their success in this exam, and that's not the reason to demean yourself. You should start, and then you think about the fact that क्या मुझे टाइम मिलेगा, मैं काम करता हूँ, मेरे पास इतना टाइम है नहीं, तो इतने से टाइम में हो पाएगा क्या? It doesn't matter how much time you devote. It's important the quality of time and what was your mindset while you give that time. So you should be fresh in that time. You should be thinking about gaining knowledge at that point of time. Let us think about the exam in lighter revision. That was my thing. So study, do not quit. Now once you fail, you'll get up, and getting up is more important when you fail. Like failing is a normal criteria. Everybody fails in life. What matters is who kicks himself up, and that's what happened. Even when the RBI result come, I was crying that this was my last attempt. I won't be able to make it now. I have to spend whole life in bank itself. But then my wife made me understand that this is the last time. Let us give it. So giving it back to life is more important than taking it from.
That's a very good message. That first of all, do not have that inferiority complex in yourself if you have. Because everybody is like you. I mean, by studying, you can also reach that level. And second is that, persistence and perseverance and patience, which he has shown while preparing for these exams. I think he almost, I would have left hope after failing to clear pre for RBI 2018. But then it was his determination, his support from the family that prompted him to give SEBI 2018. And here we can see him sitting with sitting here and giving his strategy to all the other candidates. And thanks, Vishal. I would just say, it's a very emotional moment for me. The way he has given his interview shows that how much trust he has shown in EduTap. So thank you once again for coming all the way from Maharashtra to Chandigarh, and that's really a very proud moment for us also, because when our students clear, it also gives us that confidence that yes, we are guiding the students in a right way, in the right direction, because ultimately it is the results which matter.
Right.
So I wish you best of luck for SEBI Grade A. That's a very good work profile. I think SEBI is one of the best organizations. And in a way, it can be better than RBI also, right? Because it's a very growing organization. In SEBI, you would be 1 out of 800. In RBI, you would be 1 out of 15,000. So we have got a very good job opportunity. I hope you avail this opportunity and make the nation proud, because SEBI is a very powerful organization. And once you start implementing the policies or regulations of SEBI, you can clear a lot of stuff in this nation.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Best of luck.
Thank you.